Welcome back to Pouur Decisions, and today we have Destiny and CLE Urban Winery. We're here in Cleveland Heights, and I'm so excited because, of course, we're talking about business, law, and wine. So, of course, featuring a winery is so exciting. How did CLE Urban Winery start?
Okay, so I'm Destiny Burns. Hi, everybody. I grew up in Cleveland.
Okay.
My hometown. I grew up on the east side here, and when I graduated from high school, I joined the Navy to get out of Cleveland, to get an education, see the world, travel, all that kind of stuff. And I ended up serving for 20 years in the U.S. Navy, all over the world, and settled in the Washington, D.C. area when I retired.
Okay.
So I went to work in the defense industry. I had security clearances, I had experience, I had networks, so I just went straight to work in defense. And I worked at big defense companies like Northrop Grumman, I worked at IBM, I worked at General Dynamics in business development and strategy and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I did that for 13 years. And when I turned 50, I was just over it. The corporate grind.
Okay.
I had gotten divorced after a 26-year marriage. My kid was through college and successfully launched. So I'm like, why am I continuing to kill myself for somebody else? To continue to just grind myself into the dust for somebody else. So I decided that it was time for me to break out on my own.
Okay.
I was kind of itching for freedom and independence in my life, and I took my sisters, my two sisters who live here in Cleveland, and my daughter, and we went to Vegas for my 50th. And that weekend I decided that, I had my girls around me, I decided I'm leaving DC, I'm moving home to Cleveland, and I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna start my own business.
Okay. And you didn't know what that business was gonna be?
I had always wanted something to do with food or wine. Like I was an amateur foodie, right? So I got to travel a lot, I got to live overseas, I got to live in Hawaii, I got to live in Japan, I got to live all over, travel all over in my military career. And food and wine was always just a hobby for me. So I kind of picked up little things that I liked over time, and I thought, well, maybe someday I'll have a little tea room or a B&B or a little small restaurant or something.
Okay.
Right? So when I moved back to Cleveland, I worked from home for a year with General Dynamics, and I had some time to work on a business plan. And I looked at the market here in Cleveland. And I didn't want a restaurant because that's a red ocean of competition. There's so many great restaurants here. But I love the brewery culture here.
Okay.
There's 3 breweries in this neighborhood, in the Cedar Lee, neighborhood of Cleveland Heights, and it's if they make a good product and they serve a clientele or neighborhood, they thrive. So I figured if it works with beer, why not wine? So I created this urban winery concept kind of out of my head.
Okay.
It really wasn't or isn't a big thing. And people think wineries, they think, oh, it's got to be on a vineyard and it's got to be in the country and you have to drive an hour to get there, And I wanted something right in the neighborhood. I wanted to create a third space. It's not home, it's not work, but it's a place that you can come where you can connect and celebrate and do all those things that we need as a society. We need places where you can come together and just celebrate and connect and be yourself and be with your friends. So that's what I was looking to create. And I don't know how to make wine. I'm not a sommelier. I really don't know much about wine other than I kind of like it, you know? And I know what I like. So that's kind of what I wanted to create, is a place for somebody like me.
Okay.
That, we call it good wine made fun. Okay, so we have something for everybody, dry wines, sweeter wines, all kinds of fun stuff, but it's not pretentious, because wine can be really intimidating and scary.
Yes, absolutely.
But it shouldn't be that way. It should just be fun and engaging and easy and all of that. So so we have good wine made fun here. We do fun things like wine slushies. We do wine cocktails. I have a Girl Scout cookie and wine pairing flight on the menu right now. We're always trying to do things that just kind of take the pretension down a notch.
Yes.
And just make it more fun.
More fun. Okay.
Exactly. So the second tenet of our business is to celebrate Cleveland. Cleveland is my hometown. I love it. And all of our wines are branded and themed to celebrate Cleveland, with pictures of our beautiful city on it, names of our beautiful city and our neighborhoods. And but we also have this beautiful local graffiti art on the walls, and we host local musicians and local pop-ups and things like that. So we're all about celebrating Cleveland. So this business is a way for me to celebrate my beloved hometown. And then the third part of the business is, I call it Drink Wine and Do Good.
Okay.
So I really wanted this business to be a platform for philanthropy in my own personal life.
Okay.
Because another thing that drives me as a person and my why is about impact. Like, I want to be doing something that's making an impact every day. And that was hard in the corporate world to find those opportunities. In owning your own business, you can create your own opportunities for that.
Right.
So we do a lot of community partnerships, a lot of philanthropy through this business. And I always tell my staff that we're not really in the wine business, we're in the relationship business. And the wine is important, it's an important ingredient, and that's kind of the lubricant, if you will. But it's not the point. The point is the relationship. The point is how you feel when you come in here. So that's really what I focus on. So it's good wine made fun that celebrates Cleveland and creates community. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Now, did you know all three of those components when you first started, or did those kind of evolve?
No, that was from the start. That was my deliberate design. Because when you're starting a business, you kind of like are all over the place. Like, let's get every customer, let's do everything, let's, you know, and you can't do that. You have a limited amount of resources, you have a limited amount of brain power, you have a limited amount of time. So I really wanted to create those three tenets to keep me on track. You know, if I'm not doing something that's in one of those three buckets, then what am I doing? You know, so, and plus it's a way for me to communicate what I'm doing. It's my brand. It's what makes me different. And everything I do is aligned with one of those three things. And I've been doing that since day one. And I just had my 9th anniversary on July 15th.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. That in your anniversary is my birthday, which every year I always see it, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, another year. Yes,
another year.
That's wonderful. So when you first started, you didn't know that it was definitely going to be wine, but you had the idea in the restaurant or the wine or the beverage industry. Now, how exactly did you pick wine? Like, how did you settle on wine being?
Well, I like wine better than beer. You know, and I like the experience of wineries. You know, I like that community environment. I love the brewery culture. I just am not a beer person. And back when I first started 9 years ago, there was only 175 licensed wineries in Ohio. So it was not like the brewery industry was exploding, right? And I didn't want to get into that. I'm not a beer drinker. I don't, really, I like beer, but it's not a passion. So I wanted to do wine instead. And now in these 9 years, though, there are over 450 wineries in Ohio now, with more in the process. So the industry has really exploded here in Ohio for wine, but nobody's really doing what I'm doing. It's still a very unique concept.
Now, did you do research for, like, to say, okay, is an urban winery something that people want, or like, how did you even?
I mean, you don't jump into spending your life savings without doing a little bit of research. So I had a whole business plan. I had to get the funding for this place. You know, this looks real pretty now, but it was a dirty auto repair garage, 100-year-old auto repair garage when I rented it 10 years ago, and I built all this, and I have 5 more payments on my loan to build all this, my SBA loan. 10 years I've been paying on that to create this, and my whole life savings is here. So I didn't jump into it lightly, but I'll tell you, I did not know what I was getting into. It's way more complicated than I ever thought. I mean, you were in the wine business, so alcohol, anything dealing with alcohol, there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of compliance and all that. So that's one aspect of it. But I don't know how to run a bar. Like, I'm a bartender. Who knew I would end up as a bartender? Because we have a full bar here. And we have a small restaurant here. So I'm also cooking as well. I never envisioned that originally. This is an event space. We do a ton of events and parties, and we do live music. We do a ton of stuff here. So this is really a community center that makes wine. It's an event center. So I'm running that business. I have an e-commerce business. We sell our wine online, CLEUrbanWinery.com. And we can ship to 35 states, so I have that. And then I sell a little bit of wholesale, not a lot, because there's not a lot of profit in that, but we're working on that. I sell retail out of here, plus we have the bar. So it's so complicated. There's so many aspects of it. I had no idea about that when I started. I hadn't used a point of sale system since I was 18 and worked at McDonald's before I joined the Navy.
When would you need to use that in the Navy?
Yeah, so it was, been a real experience for me. And that's one thing about being an entrepreneur is it's literally never the same day twice.
That's true.
Right?
That
and
is true.
There's always something to learn. There's always something to do. There's always something to know. There's always something to pay for.
Yes.
Yes. So it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've done some hard things.
I'm sure.
But it's the hardest thing I've ever done. But it's, I feel like I am able to have that impact that I want to have every day, small or large. It gives me that avenue, and that's what keeps me going.
Oh, which, not unlike, I believe, if not all, most entrepreneurs are like, there's the mission behind what you're doing that drives us.
Yeah, if it's just the money, you're going to burn out.
Yeah,
immediately.
Yeah.
You got to have that mission. You got to have that passion for it, even if you hate it sometimes. You got to. You got to still have that passion for it, or else how do you continue to do it?
You wouldn't.
It's hard.
You wouldn't.
It's hard. Yeah.
But so much reward that you see, I'm sure, over the past 9 years. Like, I'm sure some of the customers you've met, or even just the different wines, because you've won a lot of awards with your wine, right?
I have 3 actually double gold medal winners in the Ohio Wine Competition right here in front of me.
Okay, so let's talk about those.
This is our Cedar Lee Chardonnay. This is an unoaked Chardonnay in the 2025 Ohio Wine Competition. This was the top-rated Chardonnay in the competition. Double gold medal winner.
That is awesome.
Our Buckeye Blackberry Merlot has won several double gold medals over the years. This is everybody's favorite. We cannot make it fast enough. And then this is our Anniversary Red. We make the winemaker makes a special blend every year to celebrate our anniversary in July. And last year's Anniversary Red was a double gold medal winner in the Ohio Wine Competition.
And you're going up against, big like wineries that also have like vineyards and everything. So it's,
Head-to-head.
I mean, yeah.
Well, my winemaker, Dave Mazzoni, is extraordinary. He's a Cleveland boy, grew up here, where I went into the Navy to get out and seek my fortune. He went to Napa Valley, so he learned to make wine in Napa, and he worked in vineyards out there and learned his craft, came home to Ohio, worked in some wineries here, and he came to work for me when I was just starting this concept.
Okay. How did you find him?
It was interesting. I actually went to Vintage Ohio, the big Ohio
the wine festival.
That's this weekend actually, and I saw that Kent State Ashtabula had a tent. So, because they have a winemaking program at Kent State, so I went over there and I talked to the people over there, and I asked them could you put out a job ad to your alumni and your students, because I'm looking for a winemaker that lives near the city.
Okay.
It's not out in the farms. I
Right.
need somebody here in Cleveland. And they did, and I got one resume from a kid, and we met, and he was the only resume I got. So I'm like, okay, well, let's, I need help trying to figure out, can I do this?
Right.
How do I do this? I don't know what to do. But it turns out he wasn't able to commit to the project, but then he said, hey, I know this guy who lives in Cleveland Heights who's interested in talking to you. So it was just kind of a very happenstance kind of thing, a very lucky happenstance, and we've been working together ever since.
Oh my gosh, that was not luck. That was supposed to happen.
It was destiny?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it was. It was. It absolutely was. Because, the wine is amazing.
Yeah, he does a beautiful job. He truly does.
Yeah, and then these other two.
Yeah, so these I brought because we're gonna drink these.
Yes.
So you told me that the North Coast Syrah is one of your favorites.
Yes.
This is a beautiful. The grapes come from the Columbia Valley of Washington. It's a beautiful red, dry red that's got a nice little spice on it.
And
then this is
one.
our Footlight Sauvignon Blanc. So this has our Playhouse Square on the label, and it's a light grapefruity. It's got a little bit of minerality. The Sauv Blanc is perfect. I love it.
No, all of your wines are really, really good, and you can appeal to whatever palate people have.
And that's very much by design. How we decided which wines we were going to do, and because every once in a while we'll do a specialty, we'll do a one-off, we'll do like for our wine club or something like that. But It's very much by design. And I don't like when you go to a winery and all the wines taste the same. Like you can't tell them apart. Like all the wines taste the same, all the reds taste the same. What's the point? Just have one.
Right.
But these are they're varietally correct, and that speaks to our winemaker's skill and his, in picking the right ingredients. Because really great wine is made in the vineyard. So getting your hands on the right ingredients, and since we don't grow anything, we don't procure our grapes from Ohio, we go to the West Coast or to New York. But it allows us to get the best stuff for the best price. So we'll get samples into the winery, we'll do a chemical analysis, we'll taste them, we'll figure out what we like, and then we'll figure out what we can afford. And then we make a deal, and then the juice comes here, but being in the windows back there, that's where the winery is. So we are making the wine, the tanks, the equipment is all in full view of the customers, and
which is
so
cool.
It has that tap room brewery feel. We just make wine instead of beer here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And do you have a favorite? I know you probably like all of them, but
it depends. But they all have their charms, definitely. I'm definitely more of a dry, palate. But what's really kind of ironic is I'm 60 now. I started this in my early 50s, and my body just doesn't like wine anymore,
Oh.
So I don't.
Oh no!
I hardly drink any wine anymore. I can still have a glass here and there. It's fine, but I used to throw a bottle in my grocery cart whenever I was shopping or whatever, in the olden days. And now I have wine coming out of my ears, and my body's just like
nope,
nope, old lady, you can't have that anymore, or you won't sleep for a week.
Well, that's okay. There's more for everybody else, right?
Right. But if I'm going to have something, I like something on a little bit of the drier side. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you know, this is Pouur Decisions podcast. So one thing that I always just want to be able to get from you insight and any other businesses about any poor decision that you made throughout the start of the business to now, and how you overcame that and are still successful. I mean, you're going on, you just hit 9 years.
Starting my 10th year. They say that of all businesses that ever start, 80% fail or close in the first 5 years. And of those 20% that make it somehow, 80% of them don't make it to 10.
And you're already there.
So I'm starting year 10. I can see it in the distance. So, fingers crossed that we get there. But it's day by day, right? It's one day at a time in a business like this. I would say the toughest challenge we faced is COVID. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I was 3 years in to the business when COVID
Still
hit.
young.
Yeah. And still figuring it out, and still, not, things were totally stable, and then all of a sudden one night the governor said, all bars and restaurants are closed 9 o'clock tonight indefinitely. What do you do with that?
Right. What was your reaction?
So I was at my sister's house, and I heard the press conference, and I was just so I cried.
Yeah.
For a little while.
Yeah. That is completely understandable.
I cried for a little while, and then I got a glass of wine and a box of tissues, and my sister sat me down in the living room with my phone, and I called my bar staff, and I laid them all off. Go get in line for unemployment right now. Whatever paper you need, I'm here. We'll figure it out. I kept my winemaker on staff because we had wine to process. We had to keep going.
Because you had the wine club, and
so we had to keep the wine going. So it was just he and I through the COVID period, and that was really, really hard. And I just had to hustle every day. Fortunately, I had some wholesale going into Heinen's and places like that. And then we had our wine club, as you said. They were phenomenal. They really helped to see me through this. But I delivered everybody's wine to their house. There's 100+ members. During that period, once a month, I delivered everybody's wine to their door. I was in my car a lot. I had no sourdough starters. I had no, Netflix binges. I was working my ass off to cover the overhead in this place, And out every night delivering wine when all the streets were empty, and it was really creepy.
Yeah.
So I just did what I had to do. But I leaned back a little bit on my my corporate world training and consulting. I had come across this I use the entrepreneurial operating system to run my business, EOS, Traction. I've been doing that since 2018, and that is a really great structure that keeps us on track, keeps us aligned, keeps us focused on priorities. It's a really great way to run your business. If you're not familiar with it, Gina Wickman, Traction, check it out. But once COVID hit, all that stuff went right out the window, you know, because what do you do, right?
Right.
So I leaned back on a philosophy that I learned as a consultant called DSRO.
Okay.
So when a crisis, it's like a crisis management kind of structure to manage to. So when a crisis hits, like COVID, when everything just shut down, you go into the defense.
Okay.
So the first thing you got to do is just survive. Right? Whatever you got to do, doggy paddle like crazy, patch the holes. I went and took some money off my line of credit. I tried to, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen, you know, so I just kind of hunkered down and, you know, so just D is defense mode.
Is there a recommended time for that defensive mode?
As long as it takes.
As long as it takes. Okay.
As long as it takes.
Okay.
So I was in defense mode for like 3 months.
Okay.
Like just every day it was just trying to keep the ship from sinking.
Yeah.
Bailing out water, you know, whatever it took, just to keep the lights on, you know, I wasn't thinking about fixing anything. I wasn't thinking about repairing anything. I wasn't thinking about anything other than just keep the ship from sinking. So once you get past that initial, you know, shock and that initial kind of blow, and you're able to keep your head above water a little bit, you can't go right back into offense. You can't go straight into, okay, we're gonna fix everything, we're gonna grow, we're gonna get all that back. It just doesn't work. So the next step is S. So you have to have some stability.
Okay.
So I didn't change anything. I was just trying to figure out, when we were reopening in July, the governor said, okay, bars and restaurants, you can reopen, but you have to, you know, be safe or whatever. But we never got any guidance. We never got anything, you know, like it was just like,
just be safe.
Just be safe. Yeah. So I did things like, I used some of my PPP money to put, what do you call that? The light, UV light filtration systems in my HVAC, you know, and some things like that to help make it safe. You know, we had tons of hand sanitizer everywhere. We had little stickers on the floor about distancing. We had all that stuff, and we're just, nobody knew what to do. So we're just trying to find a stability here. Like we couldn't have parties again. We were just trying to figure out how to bring people in here. How do we rearrange the seating so we can have small areas for little groups? How can we make people feel comfortable coming back out again? And it was just a trial and error. So that took probably the better part of a year of just not fixing anything, not, you know, changing, but just trying to make things stable, implementing safety protocols and I brought back one staff member, you know, and we just very slowly started to get things stable. And then after about a year, we went into the next phase, which is reset. So that's when you can start. I felt comfortable enough and stable enough that we could start to change a few things, like bring back parties. Like, how do you bring back parties in a way that's safe and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we were able to kind of reset our event procedures and things like that, so we could bring more parties back. We decided at that point, this is the end of 2021, I decided to pull all the wine out of wholesale. I stopped selling wine to grocery stores. I stopped selling wine to wine stores because there's no money in it. There's no margin. At my small volume, we make about maybe, I don't know, 4,000 cases a year, you know, so we're not a huge producer, and Heinen's made a ton of money off of our wine. But as a producer, you know, you got bite, you know, and it just didn't make any sense.
Everybody has to take their cut. Right.
So we just pulled it all back and decided we'll keep our inventory longer, we'll sell it for more. You know, and so we made that.
You raised your prices?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, if I'm selling this bottle to a distributor who sells it to Heinen's, I make a little bit of money, but if I sell it directly to you, I keep all that in the middle. So I decided we're going to sell it all direct to customer. So very, very little wholesale since then. That was a big chunk of revenue that I left on the table. That was a very scary decision. But it ended up being a good one for keeping the stability, making that reset. That was a huge one.
Okay.
And I'd like to get back into wholesale if we can do it profitably someday. We're still working on that. But that was a big change. So probably another year of just trying to implement those resets, recover that revenue that I left on the table, and bring it back into the tasting room somehow. And I was able to close that revenue gap over about a year.
Okay.
And get back to
that's
even.
Pretty quick turnaround.
I mean, it was focused on getting more events in here, getting restarting things, and adding. We added new things and just trying to always do something new.
Yes.
So probably wasn't until 2023 or 4 that we really started to think about, what can we do to grow? What can we do to, like the offense? Now we're and that took 3 or 4 years coming out of COVID to really be in a state where, okay, things are stable, we've reset things. Now we can think about what do we do next? What do we do that's new? And we got knocked back, a bunch of times during that time. Like we had the Trump's first trade wars, where we had all the impacts of the economy and the supply chain issues and all of that stuff. And then we had a big fire here in Cedar Lee, right across the street, where we were going to have a 140-unit apartment building open in 2 months, and it burned to the ground. So that was, I went right back into defense mode. That was in January this year. So I was ready for a year of growth because of this big apartment building. I had positioned a lot of things. I was reset to be ready to capture all that business. We were bringing in a food menu. I was doing all this new stuff to really be ready for that big apartment building, that surge of people right across the street that are in luxury apartments. So they're my people, you know?
Yeah.
They like wine and they got money,
they have disposable income, yes.
So I was ready for them, and then the whole thing burned to the ground. And I had to completely retrench and go back into defense mode. And January was so bad. I mean, I thought I might lose the business.
Oh.
It was tough.
Yeah, that is scary.
So I went right back into defense. I doggy paddled like hell. February, March, April, we got to kind of stability, Now I'm in a little bit of reset now, but coming out of that. So it's just that continual thing.
Were there any legal aspects that you're glad that you did when you first started the business, that you're like, yes, this is so important, it was so, crucial for me to have done this?
Yeah, well, we talked about how in alcohol there is a lot of compliance and there's a lot of extra things that you really have to think about. So when I started my company, that was part of the research that I did, because I didn't know how to start a company.
Right.
So I hired an attorney, and they sheeted the single member LLC for me. We had the articles of incorporation, I had all the paperwork I needed, registered with the state, did all that. And then I needed to apply for a bonded winery license through the federal government, which was an odyssey. And then you had to apply for the state for the production license. And I did hire an attorney for that also, because just having somebody that knows the right office to go to and this and that. Another thing that happened to me legal-wise was when I got the space here, I didn't realize that it wasn't eligible for Sunday sales, which seems weird because there's so many bars and restaurants on this street that, you would think that they're selling on Sunday, so wouldn't this building across the street be eligible for Sunday sales? But the way that I found out the way that the voting districts are chopped up here in this part of Cleveland Heights, from the street corner here down to the light here, that is one district on this side of the street, where in order to have Sunday sales, you have to have at least 50% of your revenue not from alcohol. So like a restaurant could have it, CVS could have it, but because I was I was just a winery, I didn't have much food, I didn't qualify.
Oh my gosh.
So what I had to do, I figured this out. I hired a consultant to help me, but I had to put an initiative on the local ballot. and we had to get
Oh my
signatures.
gosh.
We had to get we had to do all this stuff. It had to be on local ballot. People voted for it, and then I was able to apply for the D6 once it passed.
How long did that take?
It took about a better part of a year because you have to wait for an election cycle and all that. So that was one legal thing I didn't expect. But you know, there's always stuff that's gonna, you know, be thrown in your way. So I've always tried to, you know, keep the business and my personal separate because I'm a single woman and taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that is all very separate and kept separate. I didn't want my daughter to be burdened with this business if something were to happen to me. So I made sure that my sister would be, you know, in line to handle the business if something were to happen to me. So I made all those changes in my personal, my estate.
Right,
you know,
to
just
prepare
to make
for
sure
this.
to protect my family, to protect myself. I think that's really important to do that planning up front.
It is.
And I've always tried to operate this business in a culture of compliance because I have compliance with the health department. I have compliance with the Division of Liquor Control. I have compliance with the federal government. I have there's all kinds of people in sales tax and payroll tax. You know, like I hire a payroll company to take care of all of that for me because I don't want to be on the wrong side of the IRS. No. I have a bookkeeper and an accountant because I'm not good with books, you know. I'm good with numbers. I can take good numbers and make good decisions with them, but creating those books that you really need to understand your business.
Oh my gosh.
It took me years to get to a place where I really understood the cost and what was happening in my business, and finding the right accounting and bookkeeping partners for me was crucial because I'm a manufacturer, I'm a retailer, I'm a wholesaler, I have an e-commerce, I have all these different aspects of my business. Understanding my cost of goods is so critical.
So, yes, you have to be able to understand.
And in the first couple of years, the accountants I was working with didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing. So we were like the blind leading the blind. So that's really, really important, is getting your attorney and getting your bookkeeper and getting your accountant and getting your payroll company and getting your team around you
together
to help you manage all of those legal aspects and your taxes and all those things, because that can sink you faster than you know, anything else. And you know, it just takes persistence and attention and consistency, and you'll be okay. But you know, it's something you have to invest in when you start a business.
Agreed.
If you want it to last for 10 years plus, you have to have those things in place.
Just put those initial investments up front. Yeah, pay the money, because it's better to do that before, you know,
then
up front.
Pay the consequences.
Yes.
Right.
Oh man. But I'm so glad to hear that you did do that, because that's some great advice, you know, with the legal.
Well, let's toast to that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna have
the Sauvignon Blanc.
And then I'll do the Syrah. And we only want Pouur Decisions with our wine, red, white, rosé, not with our business decisions. So cheers to making good decisions and poor decisions with our wine. And it's so good. Yum. Stop by CLE Urban Winery.
2180 Lee Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
Until next time.